Right, well, now that Rob has settled down...
Just a second.
Yeah.
I'll turn this on, yeah. No one sees you there, but I'll do like this.
Well, welcome everybody to this Bradford and Calderdale Socialist Workers' Party meeting, which takes place at an amazing time in our political lives. The first thing we've got on the agenda is Umit, who is going to be discussing the situation in Turkey, which I'm sure all of us have seen. Lots of demonstrations and responses to the repression that is actually taking place there. And he'll be talking for about 20 minutes, and there'll be plenty of room for questions and discussion. And then after that, we have our own little bit of political repression to discuss, where our lovely friend Nina will be explaining what has happened to her in the last couple of days. So I hope we'll be able to talk about that and offer every support that we can, Nina. And finally, we will be looking at the great event that took place in London over the weekend, the Summit of Resistance, We Demand Change. And I think Adil and Danae will be leading off on that, and there's plenty of time for talking and other people to say what their impressions were. So thanks very much. So, Umit.
Oh, thanks, comrades. What I am going to do before I start talking, I'm going to show you a short video from a British establishment, which is the Guardian. And I hope people can see. Here I'm going to turn around. People online, they can see it anyway. You may not be able to read the things, but it's okay. Let's start. Oops. What's going on?
Ben korkmuyorum.
I'll translate as in a minute.
Arkadaşlara da söylüyorum, korkmayın. Korkmayın. Korktukça sıra bana gelecek sloganı tam bugün bunu bize yaşatıyorlar. Ben bir kadın olarak, bir anne olarak korkmuyorum. Ekmeğimi elimden aldılar. Elbet adalet bir gün yerini bulacak diyorum.
Yolsuzluk, terör gibi boş laflarla bükemedikleri bileği savcılara, hakimlere kırdırmaya çalışıyorlar. Kumpas dosyasında her yalan var ama hukuk yok.
Yes, that is one. And then I'm going to show you a photo. If I can get rid of this. Well, how am I going to do that? Yeah. No, this is, you see, this is Turkish map, Turkey. And the red ones you see here is where the demonstrations took place in Turkey since 19th of March. And the grey ones, they are in the east, they are the Kurdish towns. Not all east is Kurdish, but the grey ones that they didn't bother to demonstrate. Okay, so I'll tell you why. So this is where the demonstration took place in Turkey. So there are 81 cities, 73 cities had mass demonstrations. And I'm going to show you one more thing, which is quite funny actually. If I can get rid of this. People must have seen this. Pikachu. This young guy is in Pikachu costumes. He's been running around. He was in Antalya. But this is a thing, is a Eid Mubarak cards in Turkey they made. People kept sending it online. Pikachu says Eid Mubarak. Okay. So I'll admit Saira here. I'm just going to stop sharing. Okay. Right. Those a few things for us. Now, comrades, Turkey has been headlines. Oops. This is it on me? They can see me, can they? Let me see. Yes, they can. Yes, they can see me. So we're organizing this, and also Things are two different way. One more person is entering. Yeah. Right. Turkey has been on headlines since March 19 due to wave of demonstrations in Turkey, and which was sparked by the arrest of the very popular politician and the twice elected mayor of Istanbul, Ekrem İmamoğlu. But before we start this demonstration, I think I need to clarify a few points about Turkey, Turkish politics, and a few political parties and their positions in society. I'm the Recep Tayyip Erdoğan, the leader of the current ruling party, AKP, Adalet and Kalkınma Partisi, or other English name is Justice and Development Party. And he has been in power since 2003. Unbroken power, 2003. Actually, he got elected 14th March 2003, nearly 22 years ago, exactly, just over 20. And before he became a prime minister, he was the mayor of Istanbul for 2 terms. So anyone who is a mayor of Istanbul, actually, they got big chance to become prime minister, because Istanbul's economic power. Istanbul, basically, there are 19 million people nearly lives in Istanbul, 18 and a half. And economically, 20% of the Turkish economy based in Istanbul, 20%. But only 2 million of these 18 million people were born in Istanbul. Rest are migrants from rest of the world. Like my family, most of my father's side, and they live in Istanbul. But only their second, third generation kids were born in Istanbul. The rest were coming from other places. This is Recep Tayyip Erdoğan's party, is the main political party. It was a splintered party from an Islamist party, which was the Welfare Party or Virtue Party in 1990s. And Erdoğan's party became very popular, and it's based, actually they have very strong base amongst poor, working class, and pious people. But when we say pious, I mean it's the people who are believers. And 99.9% of population in Turkey, Muslims. But Erdoğan's, when we say Islamist party, Erdoğan also the state party. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this later on. And the main opposition party is CHP. CHP is Cumhuriyet Halk Partisi, which is the Republicans' People's Party, and it was established in 1923 following the collapse of Ottoman Empire. And founder of this party is Kemal Atatürk, is the founder or the father of Turks. And the idea of this party is they are the vanguard of secular modern Turkey. And this secular is another problematic term in Turkish context, because when you say secular, you think the state is without religion, and religion plays no role in state politics, or so on and so forth. Actually, the UK is more secular than Turkey. Because in Turkey, every imam, every person who works for religious organization, they are public sector worker. They're paid by the state. And this is established by the Atatürk, which is the founder of Turkey. He wanted to control religion, so he established the religious affair. What do we call it? Ministry. Yeah, ministry. Thank you very much. And it's been like that. Yeah, it's been like that last 100 years. So Turkey is not secular at all, as a matter of fact. It's the idea of secularism just comes from these people trying to say that we are modern and we are secular. No, Turkey is not a secular state at all. And the founding ideas of Turkish Republic are one state, one language, one flag, and one nation. That means only Turkish is language accepted in Turkey. Only Turkishness accepted in Turkey. Turkey is a unified country. You cannot divide it. And also, there is only one flag. That is the Turkish flag. You know, you've seen the red flags everybody is waving. That is Turkish flag. Usually, when CHP people wave that flag, they also have the Atatürk's photo next to it. I mean, wherever you go in these demonstrations, you would see this. But CHP has not been in power since 1978. It's the establishment party, but they haven't been in power since 1978. And in 1978, it was a coalition party with the right-wingers. Following this, actually, there was a military coup in Turkey, and all these parties are closed. And there is another political party. I need to mention this. This is really important because these political parties in coalition with the current AKP, which is the MHP, Milliyetçi Hareket Partisi, Nationalist Movement Party. It is a fascist party. It's a fascist. There's no ifs, no buts. It's the fascist party. They had street organizations like SS actually. They are called Grey Wolves. They are paramilitary organizing. They used to attack trade unionists, left-wingers. They used to carry out states murder actually. They carried on. But now they are much more legal. They don't do this kind of things because police is doing on behalf of them in Turkey now. The state itself is carrying out this. This CHP's policy of one state, one nation, so on and so forth, it is actually carried out by AKP. AKP has not changed any of these things other than including Muslimness in that identity. That is really important. And most people do not mention this, but I will mention there is also another power in Turkey in this context. That is the Kurdish political parties. Kurds are the actually main opposition in Turkey, not CHP. And whatever happens, Kurds always oppose. If there is any undemocratic things, Kurds always oppose. And they have about 55, 60 MPs. And since 2015, they have been getting elected continuously. The state closes their party, but they continue to change their name. They carry on their political organization. So why do we have these demonstrations? Now, I will just check here if anybody's trying to go. No, that's fine. And on 19th of March, the state, actually Erdogan, ordered to get arrested Ekrem İmamoğlu. The İmamoğlu is the elected candidate for the next presidential election in 2028. And according to Turkish constitution, current president Erdogan will not be able to stand as a candidate again. So, and what he wants to do, he wants to change the constitution. In order to change the constitution, his party needs to win the election. And until recently, his party was very popular. However, in the last local elections, AKP actually lost major cities. What it meant is a big changes in political spectrum in Turkey. That means he has to change his policy, and he started moving towards Kurds again recently, and he offered this to create a peace process again, because he knows without Kurds votes he won't be able to get elected. But there's another contradiction here in Turkey. The Ekrem İmamoğlu, he got elected in Istanbul with the coalition with the Kurds. If Kurds hadn't voted for Ekrem İmamoğlu, he would not get elected. But people think about Turkey, one guy is put in prison because he was he got elected mayor, and there were all sorts of accusations about him. And one of the accusations about him, he is leading a criminal organization, and he is aiding criminal organization. The organization is PKK. PKK is the Kurdish organization. And he has nothing to do with PKK. Actually, CHP has always opposed PKK. CHP never been able to make any concession to Kurds in the past. Recently it's changed, but in the past. So it's completely lie. Anyway, there are other charges against him. He's taking bribes. Definitely no. He's one of the most cleanest politicians. He's doing extortions, unlawful recording personal data, rigging and tender, all sorts of things. But the judge decided he is not leading the PKK, so that dropped. That means CHP still can lead Istanbul mayoral position, so someone is doing instead of him, but he is charged with money laundering and also taking bribes. And also just before this, his university certificate, a diploma, was cancelled, and he got when did I think he got graduated in 1995 when I was, it's the same university actually, we went to same university. He was studying economics, I was studying philosophy. He got, they said, oh, we are cancelling his degree. They said, how can you cancel a degree? It was got 35 years ago. Oh, there was some problems there. Somehow only he has problem. Then there is a reason this behind this. In Turkey, in order to become a president, you have to have a university degree. If you don't have a university degree, you can't have it. And most likely, when he stands, he was the elected candidate for next election from CHP, and he was going to be elected. So that is how Erdogan has been planning this. The demonstration I show you here, it was on Sunday. It was called by CHP, and according to BBC, 2.2 million people went to the rally. Maybe a little bit of exaggeration from BBC. BBC never put anything about Palestine or stop the war, but somehow they were really focused on that, because on the 19th of March there was a demonstration in Istanbul, and BBC reporter was reporting, and he was arrested for reporting a demonstration. They told, if you are there, you are actually protesting against Turkish state, so you are a criminal. Alongside him, there were another 10 journalists was arrested. They were all released, and the BBC reporter was sent back to UK. I mean, there is no BBC reporter in Istanbul now. They can't get, and that kind of things are happening. And what happened? And, who leads this demonstration? At the moment, in the beginning, CHP called the demonstration, but they didn't think millions of people will be on the streets. They called the demonstration, they thought one night we're going to have a demonstration, then tomorrow we're going to stop. But unfortunately, people on the ground, especially young people, what is different here is really young people. They demanded more demonstration the day after another, and CHP, very conservative party, they had to say, okay, then we are going to call more demonstrations. Actually, they didn't need to call a demonstration. State banned all demonstration. Despite this banning, people were on the street, not in hundreds, not in thousands, there were hundreds of thousands of people. Oh, shit. Hundreds of thousands of people on demonstrations. And they were defying the government's decisions. 1,200 young people under the age of 21 were arrested last 10 days, and they were charged for going to demonstration. Some of them were charged with waving a flag or being there. And I think this is it shows the oppression, how oppression works in Turkey. But what we were demonstrating for? It was different ideas amongst them. Young people, when I've been listening Turkish news, and some of them were saying, I am not a member of any political party, I want my future back. I want job. I want NHS in Turkey, the National Health Service. I want education to be better. And I want this country to be on the same place. And until 2018, Turkish economy was really good actually. Turkish economy was doing really well. While Europe was going through economic disasters, somehow this economic disaster did not hit Turkey because of constructions and so on and so forth. People were doing all right, but suddenly something happened in 2018 and economy started going down. Today the official inflation is 38%. Official. Unofficial is 88%. And you get your wage. Between you get your wage and going home, actually your wage is halved. And people start thinking, what is going on? But you might need to think, if this has been going on these 5-6 years, why people have not been doing anything? Actually, there has been demonstration in the past. Like in 2003, there was a huge demonstration in Turkey, bigger than this one actually, the Gezi protests. Gezi protests were much more political, very active, and it was actually involved in trade unions and left-wing organizations. But Erdogan survived Gezi protests. He survived Gezi protests. He survived a military coup. And he carried on winning votes. But in the last local election, he lost his power. That is why he became more and more oppressive. His party became more and more oppressive. Then what is happening, if I say, is because I've got very short time left, we can have a discussion, I think, during the discussion we can talk more. But what is happening, what kind of people are going to this demonstration, depends on, a few more minutes, depends on which city you are demonstrating. If you are in the western, bigger cities, demonstrations are really mixed. They are right, left, trade unionist. But if you are in the central Anatolia, demonstrations are organized by CHP and right-wing section of CHP. And fascists are organizing really well in this demonstration. Splinter fascists from MHP. And there's a big danger for the Turkish politics. If left-wing can't fill the vacuum, fascists will fill this vacuum. But CHP seems to be doing all right, but the leadership of CHP is really weak. What they are doing, they are not calling for strike, for example. They are saying we are going to call demonstrations every now and then again. We are going to be on the streets again because they saw millions on the street. We are not going to be party of rooms. We are going to be party of the streets, what they are saying. However, the leader of CHP, he's scared from working class. He hasn't called the general strike. But last week, teachers, left-wing teachers, trade unions, small, but they called for a one-day general strike, the boycott, which was good, but it wasn't really effective. When we look at the working class population in Turkey, I just checked the figures before I came here. There are 17 million people on public and private sector. They are working as a manual or white collar workers. And only 2 million of the 17 million people in trade unions. And there hasn't been a really good trade strike activity in Turkey in a few years. They haven't had any victory. And there are lots of trade unions supported by the state, actually established by the state, and supported by the state. They are in negotiation with the state. So working class is really weak. However, it doesn't mean they can't organize. They can organize, they can do, because all these millions of people who's been demonstrating, they are not all middle class, what we call white Turks. There are millions of working class people there. And also, where are the Kurds within this demonstration? This is really important as well. Kurdish political party openly supported İmamoğlu, and they said the state must release İmamoğlu. But they also have reservations because when every time a Kurdish MP was arrested, put in prison, when every time Kurdish elected mayors were arrested and put in prison, CHP did not raise their voice. So Kurds have reservation, but at the same time they say, no, we will support İmamoğlu. And definitely they are out on the street. Okay, will there be a revolution in Turkey? That is a big question, isn't it? $1 million question. The leadership, these demonstrations at the moment, they haven't got real aims. What they want, the general aims, we want a democratic Turkey. That is a general aim. We want a better Turkey. And the young people, especially, they demand better education, they demand job opportunities. Unemployment under the 24 years old in Turkey is nearly 60%. Huge. The highest unemployment was among young people in Europe was in Spain a few years ago, 24%. In Turkey, this is going up to 60%. There are a lot of university-educated people out there working at McDonald's. I mean, we are boycotting McDonald's, but they work at McDonald's because there is nowhere to work. So there is a huge economic crisis is in Turkey. So maybe revolution is the revolution, what we think like what happened in Egypt or Sudan is not possible, but there are possibilities because if trade unions organize, is political left on the political parties on the left, if they can organize, there might be hope. But what we say from here as socialists, we support these demonstrations, we support İmamoğlu, we support democratization of society and any kind of, we are against oppression. If these demonstrators win, LGBT communities will win, working class will win, students will win, and as a matter of, and Kurds will win. So from here, we should send our solidarity to everybody who are on the streets, and also we should be also demanding from here to the British government to not to support AKP, because British government is actually supporting AKP at the moment. I'll shut up here and then we can have discussion. Okay.